Same for the commercial real estate sale agreement. We did not make any additional changes on that form this year in 2019. If you've got suggestions for those forms, we'd love to hear it. OREF 012 though, we did make some changes. This is a manufactured home sale agreement with no land. We made some changes on several pages. And you'll notice we actually changed the name of the form. We just added a couple words. So it says manufactured home sale agreement, and now it says without land in parentheses after that. So keeping in mind that this is for manufactured homes that would be on leased land or typically in a real manufactured home park or something like that. So this is the form we're talking about. And as you can see on the next slide, lines 4 through 9, we deleted what used to say Oregon license number that was carried over from the residential sale agreement, because as I'm sure everybody in the room knows, unless you're brand new, you may not be aware of this, but you cannot sell a manufactured home on leased land that's not real property unless your brokerage, your principal broker, has a special license from the Department of Consumer and Business Services. And so that's always been on line 4 and above, but you cannot even present an offer. You cannot accept an offer from somebody who doesn't have that license. So you'd have to reject it and get it rewritten by somebody who has that DCBS license. So it made no sense to have the line in there that said Oregon license number for the real estate agencies, because that's for real property. So we took that out. And if you're not sure about all this, talk to your principal broker and make sure they have the license to do that in a park or whatever. So with that said, we had to make sure we were double checking and making sure there was no references to anything to do with real property, or if it was, we had to further explain. Like line 51, we moved yard fixtures and stated that it may be owned by the landowner. So on line 51, it says, note, fences, planted shrubs, plants, trees, etc. may be owned by the landowner. So if somebody's buying a manufactured home, the land, the real property, is still owned by the original owner of that land. You're just paying for the manufactured home, and then you're probably paying for the space rent to stay on that property. So don't cut down trees and dig them up and stuff, because they're probably not going to be yours. And line 142, 143, and 146, we just wanted to make this consistent. It used to just say days. We made it business days, as we're trying to do that with all the contracts, making sure it's the same. Line 146, we added the word business as well, like I said, but like we mentioned earlier, it's part of the style book that will standardize all of the things like this. So it's a work in progress. Line 251, we changed recording fees to transfer fees. Again, it's a little bit different with personal property. And same for line 294, we removed the word deed as an option because, again, you're not getting the deed to your manufactured home. And we did see that there was that type of manufacturer right there. I think it's been fixed to manufactured. So I think we got that earlier. And then lines 358 through 360, we deleted the levy of additional property taxes and rewrote due to there being no property tax deferrals on land that that person doesn't own. So it will be solely the seller's responsibility for payment unless agreed in writing that buyer will pay. And that's it for the new, for the manufactured home sale agreement without land. Any questions on that? Anybody in the room have a license to do that?
Our principal broker has.
Yeah, it would be the principal broker that has it. You're right. Thank you. It's important to clarify that. All right, then, backup offer addendum 009, form 009. On line 14, we changed promptly notify to within 2 business days. So just remember, you may need to update the closing date. So it says if seller completely terminates the first position transaction in writing with the first position buyer, seller shall, within 2 business days, notify buyer in writing advising buyer has been automatically moved to first position. So if that's happening, you know, just a few days or couple weeks before moving to first position, you know, right moving into first position is happening a couple weeks before or a few days before the original closing date, make sure you're extending that. But before it was just promptly notify, we have to now kind of be more specific. I thought that was really a good change. I liked it. Because promptly notify could be very different in everybody's opinion, right? So that's the only change on the backup offer addendum. Pretty simple. I can imagine you don't have questions on that. Seller's property disclosure statement. There's been a couple changes on this, but I want to start by saying that OREF is very limited to what we can change on the seller's property disclosure statement because it is a statutory form. So if things are going to be changed through legislation, if there's any updates in legislation on this form, then we are told what we have to put on it. If we want to just take something out or move it around, even the little boxes or something's missing, it's really hard for us because it has to go through the statutory process. So with that said, there was a legislative update that required us to add the line 189 under is the property in a designated floodplain. It just says now note, flood insurance may be required for homes in a floodplain. So just notifying the buyer that if the seller says yes, it's in a floodplain, then they want to make sure they check that cost of insurance for having that. And that starts the conversation for elevation certificates and all that. But again, we were just told we had to do it because it was voted on and required. But line 204 was our change. I know as a managing reviewing principal broker, this is one of those sections I absolutely just didn't like. I don't know that the change is going to make it much better. I think it will, but before, and I'm sure many of you have seen this, when you provide the seller's disclosure to the seller to fill out, keeping in mind you never ever want to put your pen on this form or fill it out yourself online, you would provide it, and then any question that is a yes answer with the question that has an asterisk or the yes has an asterisk, like you can see above at the top here, there's A on 198, asterisk A, and then asterisk next to the yes. Anything with that asterisk requires the sellers to provide additional information or explanation. And so that could be an addendum to the seller's property disclosure statement saying line 198A or 199A, whatever. We are saying yes because you need to know X, whatever. So they further explain. Or they've attached a report. And sometimes reports could be 50 some pages long. So the point is that this box has been always here, and it would say how many attached pages of explanations are there. And so you'd put that number in there. But so many times my brokers would miss filling that in, even if it was 0. They were supposed to put in 0. Now we changed it to say 0 if not filled in. So it kind of gives a default when they forget to put that there. But still, don't forget if there are additional pages to write that in there as well. So I thought it was a nice change, but I still think it's going to be missed. I hope not, but that's it for the seller's property disclosure statement. No questions?